spiritually
Spiritually un.
Good day, people. We are back. It is February 17th. You know what I'm talking about? And this month is just flying by. I speak greetings and blessings and all type of good stuff to you today. You know what I'm saying? It's been a heavy month already. I know everybody going through a little bit of everything, but we gonna shake all that off. Matter of fact, if you listening to this right now, you on Facebook, YouTube, or wherever, drop in the comments right now. Fuck that bullshit. Bills, fuck that. All that, fuck that bullshit. Real talk. Yo, today's show is brought to you by the RTPA Incubator. You hear me? If you're trying to get your program into the school system, yo, give them a holler. They'll walk you through the process to get you in front of that principal that's going to sign that check. Yeah, you heard me. That money, that moochah, you know what I'm talking about? And if you're trying to start your podcast and you heard about some other janky platforms, or you tired of the platform that you on right now, holla at Riverside FM. Yeah, you know, you can get every clip of the podcast and download it directly. No glitches, no blurs, none of that. Yo, I'm done talking, y'all.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Peace and love to everybody that has joined in on today. Please like, share, spread the word, comment that we are live, and it is Family Talk Friday, and we exposing that thing that we like to call drama. Before I move any further, I just want to set the tone. Our goal for this here is to grow to a better version of us. So I speak an energy of love, solitude, and most importantly, understanding. Now let's dive deep. I got a very special guest on today. Where are you? Where you at? Where you at? Sis, where you at?
Yo, yo, yo.
Ooh, there she is. There she is. What's happening? How you? How you?
I am well. I am well. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I had to get you on here. Had to get you on here. Before we introduce to you I definitely just want to put in the atmosphere that we are talking about exposing that thing that we like to call trauma. A lot of people don't understand that trauma runs deep. Quick, fact about trauma and what trauma is. Trauma can be an injury such as a wound to the living tissue, like a gunshot wound, stabbing, physical or verbal abuse, disturbing experience like seeing someone getting killed or even hurt. That right there can cause a thing called emotional shock, which follows a stressful situation or injury. A quick fact, 1 out of 10 children under the age of 6 living in the major American city has reported witnessing a shooting or stabbing. So that's like 59 to 90% of children and the youth in the community that has already reported trauma exposure. That's wild business. So that's 60 to 90% of the youth that has already experienced it. Last week, we was talking about parts of the brain, and we was talking about 3 specific parts of the brain. Last week we talked about the amygdala, and that's its job of the brain is to give you those survival instincts, the fight or flight kind of ordeal. This week we talking about the hippocampus. This is the area of the brain that aids in learning and memory. Studies have shown that people who have experienced traumatic events may have a smaller hippocampus than those who haven't been exposed to trauma. Research has also shown that this may be due to hormones that are released when someone experiences frequent high levels of stress. Prolonged exposure to these hormones can damage or destroy cells in the hippocampus. That's just some facts for that ass, I guess, you know what I mean? This thing we call trauma, it runs deep. It runs deep. All right, so enough with my mouth, right? Could you introduce yourself and also tell the people in the world about your brand?
Absolutely. So my name is Porsha G, and I am a multifaceted artist. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Dope Vibes with Porsha Entertainment Company, that is the house to everything that I do. Her nails are dope. Shout out to my ladies.
Big facts, big
Um,
facts.
That's the original one. I
Okay.
have a private nail community. We gather, we have camaraderie. Of course, it's all centered around nails. Then my dogs. And over 30% of my roster are entrepreneurs.
Come on, talk about it.
So, we building, we making change. And the rest of everything that I do pretty much just encompasses beauty, but also that bridge between beauty and brains.
Mm-hmm.
So like
Mm-hmm.
her style's dope is, lashes, handbags, styling, but then you got dope touches, which is art. And you got Portia in my pocket, which is the motivational speaking. So it kind of just takes all of the intricate pieces of being an individual, from being
Mm-hmm.
artistic to having a good mindset, and putting it under one house.
Facts, facts,
So that's
facts,
my thing.
facts. Come on, talk about it, talk about it. And I know you just had a client appreciation party
Yeah.
not too long ago. Um, so, because no, most people that's in the field of cosmetology, whether it's hair, nails, whatever the case, they a lot of the times they just randomly take people or appointments. What's so different about how you take your clients?
Well, for one thing, I always tell anybody that asks me, the best way to get on my roster is to have a in-person conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
Catch
Mm-hmm.
me when I'm comfortable so that I can see what's happening in your energy. I tell
Facts.
anybody that's the
Facts.
way to go about it. Unless
Facts.
you have who you are is a part of your social media. Like I had this one
Uh-huh.
young lady that reached out to me and she's like, I know it says you're not taking new clients in your bio, but is it a way that I can get a foot in the
Right.
door? And when I went and clicked on her page, she was a creative.
Okay. Okay.
And because I could see that, I knew that I would never have to worry about her trying to short me. I would
Mm-hmm.
never have to worry about her not understanding that energy and creation exchange.
Facts.
Even before I shut down and wasn't taking new clients, I was never really a fan of walk-ins because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a curse breaker. Myth buster
Mm-hmm.
is what I like to call it. So like
Mm-hmm.
as a young black woman in the beauty industry, we get a lot of backlash for bad attitudes, for how long we take, all of the things like that. And so I never really was a be a walk-in kind of nail tech, because
Mm-hmm.
there's an energy that happens when you're working on somebody and you got three people sitting behind them staring at the back of their head,
Right.
trying to
Right.
figure
Right.
out how long it's going to take. Like all of that's energy. And I love for
Uh-huh.
my ladies to be like, this was an experience. I feel like I just
Exactly.
had therapy. You know what I'm saying? If I can get them to leave the kids at home, I will,
Right.
because it's
Right.
like, this is mommy's personal time.
Facts. Facts.
Absolutely.
Facts. Tell the people what's your zodiac sign.
I'm a Cancer.
Ooh
It's the
wee.
waters. It's the waters.
All day. All day. All day. Tell the people where you grew up at.
I was born and raised in Broadview. I'm actually still in the same house that we were in, well, that my family was in when my dad was
Mm-hmm.
a little boy.
Mm. Dig that. Dig that. What was your childhood like growing up, and who raised you?
So my grandmother raised me
Mm-hmm.
up until I was about maybe a couple of years before 20. My grandfather was also in the house. He ended
Mm-hmm.
up passing, having a massive brain stroke.
Mm. Sorry to hear that.
But thank you. Before that happened, it was the two of them. And childhood was very, I would say, dualistic in nature. I always feel like, being a water sign, part of me lives in the spiritual, and then part of me
Mm-hmm.
lives in like,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So I think externally, I had a wonderful childhood.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it from just the cover of the book, it's like,
Right,
oh, that's
right.
great. You know, she participated in things, she got good grades and all of the things. But when you look at it internally,
Yeah.
childhood was very different for me,
Okay.
because I had my grandmother raising me, my father not in the house, and my mom being deceased.
Mm.
So I understood a lot about situations probably a little earlier than anybody was actually anticipating me to. So I was
Mm-hmm.
really aware of the fact that, like, I can't really have you, like, it's hard for me to see you as my grandmother when you are my disciplinarian, like my mother.
Right, right,
So
right.
it created this, like, you know what I'm saying? On the
Mm-hmm.
one hand, it's cookies and milk, and on the other hand, it's like iron fist.
Right, right, right,
Yeah.
right. Don't nobody understand that. Come on
Yeah.
now. Big facts, big facts. And you know, one thing about grandparents supposed to be the pushovers. Ain't nobody got time for no strict grandparent. Go on about yourself. Yeah. Real. So,
For sure.
do you associate yourself with the LGBTQ community? Why and why not?
I do. I consider myself to be a bisexual woman. Um, and even that is dualistic in nature. And I say that because I've only ever had one relationship with a woman that
Mm-hmm.
lasted on and off for almost 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we were still friends after that. I don't think that it's an experience that I will ever want to go through again,
Mm-hmm.
because if I'm being honest, I feel the equivalent of, like, just dating period is rough.
All right.
Whether you're same or opposite, it's just tough. And in that space, that's a lot of emotions,
Yeah, yeah. Facts.
you know.
For
So
two women. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is. I know it is. I know it is. I know it is. Big facts. Big facts. Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest because this is spiritually uncut. I always feel like if it's gonna be two women, it needs to be a man. It has to be some type of balance right there.
It's this little hand for me.
Right there. You know what I'm saying? It has to be. You know what I mean? That's a whole nother story for a whole nother topic. Moving on, right?
But I dig the balance. I dig it.
Hey, you know what I mean? For real. Tell us about a traumatic experience that took place with a family member and how did it affect them?
Okay, so this one is tough because I feel like if there were traumatic experiences that happened, they were also experiences that I shared. Like, I know when my grandfather passed, that was a lot for my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, things that she may have experienced coming up that I didn't know about still affect her. And I think that that is my takeaway from that question. What I learned about how my family moved through trauma
Mm-hmm.
was to move through the trauma,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily to talk
Right.
about the
Mm-hmm.
trauma. I
Right.
learned how to be your stereotypical strong black woman.
Yeah.
That energy of, like, no, I got it. Yes, I'm bleeding. I'm still gonna get up and go do this.
Right.
Hand me a band-aid, okay? Or even in the reverse, like, yes, this could potentially harm me
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, but I need you to rip the band-aid off and just tell me. Like that, I feel like that narrative
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
how trauma was processed. Like, we didn't really get talked to about the trauma, but more so once we realized what trauma was and how to identify someone that may
Mm-hmm.
have experienced trauma, I can now see where there is remnants, residue,
Right. Right. Right.
you know?
And with that being said, what's one thing because I even do this with my mother, um, because my mother's the same way. A lot of our family members, the older members, you know what I'm saying, they swept things up under the rug, and I pinpointed a lot of things from my mother. And I'm like, you still dealing with some things with your daddy, what he didn't do. So what's some things or one or two things that you think and feel that your grandmother, as far as trauma, may be still dealing with that she won't like that she's gonna take to the grave or she
Needing to be strong,
yeah.
just having to do it all. That notion of like something happens when you aren't, what's the word, like nurtured.
Mm,
I
mm-hmm.
feel like because of how I perceived her
Mm-hmm.
and some of the conversations that we have now, to hear her at 82 be like, I'm still learning,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still gaining an understanding. I would say the one thing that I think may have affected her that I don't really think she thinks affected her is her mother was not nurturing.
Mm.
And so I think it's one thing when it doesn't come from your father, but when it
Right.
doesn't come from your mother,
From
you
the
as a
nurturer.
woman
Right.
then pass that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's sometimes I can, when I was coming up, I'd be like, I love you. She'd be like, thank you, instead of saying it back.
Right, right, right.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Especially if she's upset or something and I say it, and then that let me know, like, she realized that I was saying it to make her feel better. But
Mm-hmm.
it was also in part because I want you to know that I feel this for you. But I think
Right.
that lacking that
Mm-hmm.
and lacking it early played a huge part in the movement.
Facts. And I can contest to that because my mother uh, she was nurturing, but she wasn't nurturing because she was tough.
Yeah.
All boys, you know what I mean. And then I can think back to some of my relatives that didn't get nurtured because they was of course they 80s and 90s now.
Mm.
So back then it was all about being tough and surviving.
Yeah.
We ain't had time to talk about what's bothering us. You know, that's why I feel like we're blessed because our past ancestors and elders went through. That's why every generation is supposed to get better, and it's only gonna get better if we expose this shit
For
and
sure.
and really talk about it. Anybody who listening, you know, sit down with y'all family and talk. Whether what I'm saying, you talk to your kids, whether if you talk to your mom, your dad, this trauma shit is real. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these parents and swept a lot of things up under the rug to make sure that they children became the best version of them. But in the midst of that, they dying on the inside, they stressed and they depressed on the inside because
Yeah.
they don't know what to do with the feelings, all the stored up feelings that they got. Whew, man, whew, man.
Yes.
Tell us about your most traumatic experience.
So I feel that my most traumatic experience was the death of my mom. So she passed when I was about 3, going on 4, and I'm 29 now.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So when I think about the fact that I remember the last conversation we had, when
Mm-hmm.
I think about me being able to remember the last time we were in the living room and she was like, okay, baby, I love you. I'll be back. And she walks out the door. At being able to remember all of that so
Mm-hmm.
young and having to carry that so far, I feel like that's the most traumatic experience I ever had because
Mm-hmm.
it set off the dominoes for every following traumatic experience that I had.
Mm.
Because that's a part of the foundation that wasn't there.
So this is just rolling over into the next question. How did it affect your spirit?
Whew. Very dualistic effect in nature
Mm-hmm.
because it made me not fearful of death
Mm.
early.
Mm.
And my grandmother, she didn't let me go to the funeral, so I never saw my mother in a casket.
Mm.
That shifted my perspective, mainly because I always felt like I was going to see my mother again. Because I never had a final, it was like, I just always felt like she was still here. So I didn't really, I grieved in hot spots,
Mm.
like when it would affect, but it wouldn't lag because I didn't have that just super, super heaviness. But it also made me want to know more about myself and where I came from.
Hmm.
It made me want to understand the Most High, because I feel like when she passed, I was hearing, parents tend to, or adults tend to try to explain to children like, oh, God needed them, or
Mm-hmm.
God took them, or they're an angel now, and it warped my thinking spiritually, because it's like, you tell me don't question God, but you just literally told me
Right.
something
Right.
that I have to question.
Right.
Like,
Facts. Facts.
so I definitely think that it put me in a place spiritually to where I feel like I'm a little more advanced, because now when people move on, it doesn't last as long. I'm one of those people that you might not see cry to the funeral. You might only see me cry once, because it put me in a space to understand that if I don't release them, then they're still tethered. So when somebody passes, my first reaction is not to get upset, but to pray over them and make sure that they get to where they're going safely. So I feel
Facts.
like that's what it did for me spiritually.
I'm I can agree and contest with you 100% because I'm at a place now where when a person is about to transition, I'm happy for them. You know, I feel like they get a chance to get away from this hellhole that we living in now. So who am I to be selfish, especially, and God forbid if they suffering. You know,
Mm-hmm.
who am I to say no? Don't go, please. That's selfish. Release them with love. What
Yeah.
you mean? I remember when my grandma passed this past October. You know, she waited until all her grandchildren. She seen all her grandchildren, and crazy enough, when we was there, I had rubbed my hand over her face like that,
Mm-hmm.
and she told me then, I'm waiting till my birthday and I'm gone, and I heard her say it just like that, and I sort of kind of blurted it out too fast because a lot of my relatives didn't want to hear it. I said, but she ready, y'all, and they
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to hear it. But I'm like, man, she tired, she ready to go. Release her with love.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't live her life. Yeah. How I asked you how did it affect I asked you how did it affect your spirit. This one is how did it affect you as a person?
I'm a little mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have a very sour patch bunny with
Mm-hmm.
fangs, yin yang, hot cold kind of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that a lot of that comes from, so I didn't have the balance that I needed. Like, my mother passed early and my father wasn't in the house when I was
Mm-hmm.
growing up. So my ability to trust women was fractured early,
Mm.
which actually is a part of the reason why I wanted an exclusive roster. It's a safe space that I created for me so that I could execute the gift that I was given.
Mm.
A lot of people don't know that because they don't talk to me about it, or they don't think to ask, but that's really what it is. People will say, when you build your business, the customer is always right and this and that. But if you build your business, your brand, your brain baby around the
Mm-hmm.
needs of other people, you will fail,
You will fail.
because you're the one that has to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be set up for you to be able to work, and then whoever fits in that, your people will gravitate towards you. So I noticed for a long time, I didn't have the ability to trust women. I felt like they were always going to leave. I felt
Mm-hmm.
like there was, like, that I couldn't rely on them, because the first example that I had, you know what I mean? So I definitely think it put me in a space to really have to learn how to navigate relationships with other women.
Mm, mm. So rewind a bit. You made a statement and said that you're mean, yin yang, high cold, catch me when you catch me kind of ordeal, right? Would that be a defense mechanism?
I think some of it is built in that. I think that the more that I heal and the more I walk in the truth of who I am, I've realized that the reason that energy comes off like that is because a part of me, from needing to know how to cope as a child, I don't
Mm-hmm.
really like to be talked to. And it's all of this started early. I don't really like to be talked to because it's too close to disencouraging me. I don't really like anybody to micromanage me because it's too close to saying you don't know what you're doing.
Mm,
And so I don't really like to feel incompetent or anything like that. And so I think that because all of that happens like that, I think that that's where the defense mechanism come in. Some of it is
mm,
out of survival. Some of it is literally me saying, well, as soon as my antennas go off and my little do 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 like the cars got when you
mm-hmm.
get too close to something, that's what it does. And if it go off too many times, the blaze. And I can't even catch it sometimes. I'd be like, "Ooh, they might have not needed. You might have not needed. They didn't mean no harm,
And
not
you
for
just did
real."
that to him.
Yeah, but that's where growth and healing comes in because I'm aware of that now. So
Mm-hmm.
now I know how to be like, okay, this version of you was created to protect another version of you. So now I
Mm-hmm.
have better language for it. Like, I am not nice, I am kind. The
Right.
people pleaser is no longer overly pleasing people because when that happens, what you start to do when you are committed to being all the way 100% nice all the time, you actually put people on a pedestal that may not even supposed to be there all because you don't want to ruffle no feathers.
Facts. Big facts. And those that's listening that don't know, the word nice in the etymology dictionary means to be weak and clumsy. So I ain't nice. You know what I'm talking about? Big facts, man. Big facts. Okay, okay. How are you dealing and coping today with everything you've endured?
One day at a time. And I say that loosely because I'm a bit of a visionary, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. I have more visions during the day and I see more things during the day than dreams that I have at night.
Hmm.
So, um, you know how kids get in trouble for talking in class. That might have been me at a point, but I definitely know there was a few couple of times where it's like, "Hey, where you at?" You know
Right,
what I'm
right.
saying? Like, and that's still happening now, where it's like I can just. So I feel like a part of my healing is rooted in like practicality. Day by day, I make a conscious choice to experience the joy that the Most High has given me, to, you know what I'm saying, lean into who God says I am. That's the biggest part of it right now because I've noticed that a lot of the things that I've dealt with, situations that I've been with, been in, trauma that I have experienced, I'm at a place of healing now to where I can fully understand that if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't have experienced some of that stuff. So it's like protection of my mind starts with like, if I know me staying up super late is going to cause a problem for me the next day,
Mm-hmm.
just don't do it. If I know I want to get something out of my mouth, but I know it's going to come out like chili pepper, I'm going to write it down. Like, if I know that the only thing that can release all this rambunctious energy is for me to go dance, okay, we finna go do a 16 count. Like, getting to know myself has been the best tool of healing because it made me look inside. That way I'm not bleeding on people who didn't cut me. And I'm also making like an active, like a conscious choice to be a better me.
You said throw a couple stances and dances. You know, one important thing that I know for sure in this thing we call life, you gotta have your outlet. You gotta have. Fuck that. God damn it. Go back to when you were a kid and whatever you liked when you was a kid, do it now. I hate the fact that people told us to grow up. You kidding me?
Are
What am
you
I growing
kidding
up
me?
for?
Yes,
Stop
it's
dreaming? No.
yes. That's it. You grew up and got bored. Like literally, you grew up and got bored, and that's what happened. And I that's the best word I can think of. A couple months ago, I started skating again, and I have been skating since I was like a shorty. You know, they had like the little adjustable skates for the
Mm-hmm.
concrete. I've been skating since those days,
Right, right,
right?
right.
And
Facts.
so I stopped skating for maybe like 8 years. And in that
Mm-hmm.
8 years, I might have went 3 times. This past August, I started going back consistently. So every week, twice a week, I get my tail up and I go skate. It
There
was
you
the
go.
best thing that I could have ever did for my brain because it made me feel alive, like
Facts.
childlike. Like the goal is the duality. Like I have to pay bills, I have to be an adult, I
Mm.
have to do whatever, but the inner child, that's where it started. Like,
Let's say fuck them bills.
okay, you want no truth? They gonna find me, okay? Tad.
Oh man, for real, yo. Oh my god, on real. It's just about getting back to what you love and what makes you happy. Your passion, your passion. That's what it's all about. What makes you happy.
Yes.
Um, have you healed, and how do you know you've healed?
I am healed and healing.
Mmm. Mmm.
So
Talk your shit.
listen, because I believe that there are levels to healing, just like with anything else. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me at least, in my experience, once you get to a certain point, it's no longer the circle doing this,
Mm-hmm.
it's doing this.
Mm. Spiraling up.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people think like if you meet the same situation constantly,
Mm-hmm.
you're not growing. But
Right.
if you meet it at the same space going up, at some
Mm-hmm.
point it's going to vibrate out of your frequency altogether. Or every time you meet it, you're going to meet it with a more elevated version of yourself.
Mm. Facts.
So I feel like there are a lot of things that I am still healing because they are like life lessons, soul
Mm-hmm.
lessons,
Mm-hmm.
but some things I've healed from. And the ones that I know that I've healed from, how I know that I've healed from them is because when somebody asks me about that situation or it comes up in conversation, I am no longer triggered. I no
Facts.
longer get upset. I can have like a more like, you know what? I can see like, okay, just being transparent since we here having the conversation. I have at different points in my life attempted suicide.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a huge part of how I know I am healed and healing.
Mm-hmm.
The Earth School is extremely exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
And as a person without a mom, it was exhausting early. So I remember saying to one of my good girlfriends, like a couple months ago, like that it crossed my mind that one of the times that I felt like I didn't want to be here no more, it was because I did not feel like I could get anything right.
Mm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, imagine deciding you don't want to be here no more because you a failure. And then you attempt and then you don't succeed. And God is like, well, if you thought you was a failure at everything else, did you think you was going to succeed at that?
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
You know, and we just kind of like laughed about it. And the fact that I was able to see the growth in it and have
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying, like a more positive response to it. It was like, oh, okay, you've healed from that, because usually I'd be like, no jokes, it's not funny,
Right. Right.
you
Right. You would
know.
have definitely got
So
offended or something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Big facts. You know, you made a statement, and just like I don't feel like people will ever stop growing. I don't think I'm gonna speak for our culture, and I'm even gonna go as far as saying majority of the people would never fully heal because some things that I thought that I've healed from, and I found out, hey, I'm still healing because that hit a
Levels.
little soft spot. You know what I'm talking about? I got in my feelings, but guess what? I like to pride myself in admitting my shit. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? I love admitting my shit. I tell the mofo in a minute, give me a minute. I'm in my feelings. Some you said just did something to me. It's not your fault though. It's me.
It's me.
I'm finna
Yes.
go sit in the corner and smoke me a blunt probably. I'm gonna do something to get me. I'm gonna have a talk with the Lord and I'm gonna be right back. But
Yes.
it's levels to that. And that was a very mature response. Facts. Because most people ain't even started healing. They think they have, and
Yeah.
it be them ones that just went through it last week, and then they talking about they went to church and shit. Now it's oh, I'm brand new and woo, 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 woo. It takes time, love.
Hmm.
It takes time. It takes time, and it's just going, flowing up into the next question. Um, did you go to therapy, and what's your thoughts on therapy?
Okay, so I have not been to a licensed therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that like that is
Mm-hmm.
because I really do believe in what I'm building when it comes to this network and this
Mm-hmm.
organization. I have two young ladies on my roster that are licensed therapists. I
Mm.
have one social worker, and
Mm-hmm.
then I have two teachers, and they're
Mm-hmm.
special education teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that matters is because I'm just going to be honest, even though some parts of me are like here, the
Mm-hmm.
rest of me, you got to address like you talking to my inner child. Cause she be
Mm-hmm.
sitting there like, we exhausted. Can you just give me the short version?
Right.
Kind of
Right.
thing. So traditional therapy, I wouldn't say so,
Mm-hmm.
but there are so many tools at my disposal that has cracked the door open for me to go see an actual therapist. I think it's necessary because, first of all, talk therapy is one of the most healing things that you can do. Therapy, just
Mm-hmm.
outlet therapy, whatever it is, just to get like the circulation flowing. You don't even realize that you stuck in your head or stuck in your heart or whatever chakra it is that's blocked. You don't even
Facts.
realize that you're stuck there
Mm-hmm.
until you move it and shake it up and get it moving around. So yeah, I would definitely say that. But it's important, and I've actually found somebody. I just haven't went to my first session yet.
Got you. Got you. So I was out driving Uber not too long ago, and I ran into this Indian doctor, and he studies, mental health. So I asked him, like, so you must come across a lot of, trauma patients. He said, oh, absolutely. And so we got to talking, and he made a statement about therapy. And I said, well, would you agree that everybody doesn't need therapy? And he said, I absolutely do. And he also said and made a statement that it's different levels to therapy. Like you say, you got art therapy. My therapy may be going to punch a bag or
Yeah.
going to play football or you know what I'm saying, sing, create. I do believe as long as you know what the issue is, you're good. Oh, and dealing with it. Facts. Like don't like, oh yeah, I know da, but
And
you're
then you
not
don't really
dealing with it.
know.
You know what I'm saying?
And you don't know how to deal with it's a real thing. Like people be on me like, so you don't feel like you need therapy or you don't want to, and I'm like, y'all got to give me time on that because I'm a self-healer. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have no problem with taking accountability, doing shadow work, and me being able to be like, them last three things that just toppled over, you were somewhere before the first one. Go
Yeah.
find it and
Yeah.
go get it
Yeah.
together. Go figure out where the root of that is. I don't have no
Facts.
problem doing that. And I
Facts.
feel like that's what people have to be aware of. If you can identify what your problem is, you have a better chance of fixing it.
And let me toss this out here too. He literally made the statement. The Indian doctor literally made the statement and said that mental health, a big portion of that is not being able to identify. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to chill out on a lot of people because, maybe they literally just don't know how to identify the issue, which is where the therapist comes into play. Cause yeah, man, this shit is deep. Because everybody can't take accountability, and that also leads me to say that everybody is not meant to be, what I'm saying, a leader or a wolf. It's sheep everywhere, and yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health, mental illness is real. It's real. Some people just can't pinpoint what the issue is. Some people don't want to pinpoint the issue. Some people don't want to grow. Real talk. Yeah. Um, do you feel like this experience has made you a better person, and why?
For clarity, which experience?
Whichever experience that you want to expound on, as far as that, it can be your mother, whichever one, whichever one.
I would say it all, like every experience. That's why I asked, just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that this wouldn't be far fetched. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
every experience, including the most traumatic one, all the way down to the least traumatic one, has played
Mm-hmm.
a part in who I have become
Mm-hmm.
and, like, my greatness. Even with any shortcomings that I have, because that just feeds the well rounded character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that on some level, at least in my experience, I realized that I carnated here to heal. And so without the darkness, there is no light.
Facts.
And without having certain experiences, you don't gain the wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
So for
So
sure.
sticking to the topic at hand, you losing your mother at an early age. Um, Someone that has went through that, or I'm not. I hope no one will ever lose their mother, but for someone that's going through this, what can you tell them as like an encouragement, or what I'm
Mm.
saying, help them to help them endure the situation? What can you tell them?
That one was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if this is the best advice I could give, but I know, speaking from my personal experience, is to go to her, to call on her.
Mm.
Nobody else but her.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, in theory, we come from our fathers, but we are cooked.
Mm-hmm.
We're nestled, baked
Mm-hmm.
in our, so it's like when you lose that tethering, or you feel like you lost that tethering, the best thing that I did to help me was to call on her. I want to say for almost once a year for about 5 years, I had the same dream where my mother came and visited me
Mm.
after she passed.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of energy is what helped me, because it helped me realize that anytime I call on her, she'll show up. And it would be so surreal because it almost carried the same energy that God
Mm.
has. They say just,
Mm-hmm.
and it's,
Right,
and
right,
it was the
right,
same thing. I could be like, Ma, I really want this. Like, oh my God. Like, you get nervous about something, you want something, and you be like, the same way you would do if they were tangibly here.
right, right,
And
right.
then you have little moments, or, it's somebody to come past and touch your shoulder, like, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Facts, facts.
little things like that. Being in tune. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Being in tune. Like, call on your mama.
yeah.
Be open about what you feeling, because
Mm-hmm.
for a long time I thought I was opening up and I thought I was talking, but in reality, the moments that I was talking was actually when I would have had enough. So somewhere before then, I was supposed to open up, and I was so hard about it because I couldn't process my emotions that I wasn't doing that at all. So letting it out. It's like I tell people all the time, they be like, "Oh, you a cancer, you a crybaby," and I be like, "You got toxic water in your system. You right? I let this toxic water out. You show right about that. Like, let it out, let it out. Stay in tune, and talk to her."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely agree with that, especially the part of letting it out. People will lose a loved one and don't want to talk about it, and then they result to other things, drugs, alcohol, things of that nature. Letting it out once again, going back to dealing with the situation at hand. That's called responsibility, y'all. That's something unfortunately we're stuck with. You know what I'm talking?
That thing ghetto.
That R word, boy, responsible. What? Stop cussing. You'll get locked up. Stop. Shut up.
It's too much. It's too much.
Oh, the real. Oh, the real. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving, yo. Here's a good one. Do you love yourself, and how do you know it?
Love and learning to love. So I've found that a lot of things with me, because I am committed to evolution, is always one part and then another. I feel like my self-love journey has been hard fought. I would say that there's a lot of me that I love, and if anytime I ever feel like I'm not loving something about myself, I have realized that it is always conducive to what's going on around me. My tribe, having a tribe, then my tribe, was so important because it made a space for me to be myself. Having a space for me to be accepted as who I am made it easier for me to love me. But a part of that was also like the process of me learning to love myself was me being consciously aware of what I'm like when I'm alone. So I was raised as the only child, right? So like I have a sister, but I was always that kid, like really outgoing when I'm outside. But when I'm inside, I'm a bit of a homebody. I can be in the room with the door closed all day. You kind of got to make sure I'm breathing, that kind of energy. And it's like, when I'm by myself and like live and the energy is energizing, I love that girl. Like, I love her. She's so just dope, right? Just out when I'm outside and I'm alone, I know people be like, "So where was this you like 2 days ago when we was kicking it?" And it was just like, no, I couldn't be quirky and strange. You weren't gonna allow me to do that the right way.
Facts. Facts. That's real. That's real. You said loving yourself and learning to love.
Yes.
That's deep.
Absolutely.
That's deep. I like that. I like that. Every day we wake up, every day we we evolve and we change into another person, someone new. Have we ever thought that the more we evolve, maybe we have to relearn how to learn how to love ourselves again?
You better come
Damn.
on. And that's a part of the reason why I said learning to love, because
I like that shit.
it's ever changing. The version of me that I am grasping at is constantly changing. The more I walk in my truth and my authenticity, that's a new level of me having to, because it's like, okay, today I'm level 3 authentic. Okay, I can handle that. But tomorrow I might wake up and be like, off with all of their heads. Nobody did what they were supposed to do. That's gonna make me be like, oh, I got to love that today. She was real spicy.
Real talk.
Real spicy,
Yeah.
It's constant.
Yeah. That's real. That's real. I like that. I like that. I'm definitely feeling that. Do you feel that our people will ever heal?
Ooh. They say forever is a long time. I think that as a whole, and I don't really know if I want to say this like this, but I'm spirit said, okay,
Okay.
it's giving choices. That's the
Mm-hmm.
word that I'm getting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like those of us that have become aware
Mm-hmm.
will do the work.
Mm.
And those of us that are not aware, either because they are aware and chose to go back to sleep, even
Mm-hmm.
though once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I
Right.
know they didn't put a locks and keys on their doors and
Right.
candles because
Right.
they didn't
Right.
saw this. They know. Now
Facts.
you can go back, you know, and some people just oblivious is all
Mm-hmm.
get out the way. They don't see it coming left or right. But I feel like the people who have become aware,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think a certain level and magnitude of healing is possible in our communities because those of us that are leaders are very much so reach one, teach one. Let me show you what I know. You look like you might want to pick up some jewels. Let me go do
Mm-hmm.
this. And it's just going to continue to trickle. But
Yeah.
I don't think that it'll necessarily be enough to balance out the rest of it.
Yeah. I don't. Honestly speaking, everybody ain't gonna be saved. Everybody ain't gonna be healed. That's just my own personal opinion. I would love for that to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
I
I
don't.
feel that.
Yeah, me personally,
Because
I
you
don't
gotta
know.
want to do it. And
You gotta
healing
want to
is,
do it.
it feels great once you've done it,
Right,
but
right.
that ain't no easy thing to do.
It's not. It's not. It's a lot of hard work, and that mirror is a motherfucker. You hear me? Yep. Look, we finna get ready to wrap it up, right? But before we go, to all my entrepreneurs or inspiring entrepreneurs, can you give them some type of advice? Some type of advice.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so the biggest thing that I can say is do it. Get started.
Mm-hmm.
And it don't matter where you start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if it's on your brain, put it on some paper. You
Facts.
literally, I'm a firm believer in working backwards. Not a lot of
Mm.
people are like that. I
Okay.
work backwards. I see the vision in totality and then I
Mm-hmm.
figure out what I need to do to get there. I
Right.
don't
Right.
start with what I got here and work there. I'll start
Mm.
there and work backwards. So don't get done. All right. So just start. That would be the best advice. I can, that's the best advice I can give
Oh,
you.
facts. Facts. What they say, it is never a good time to do anything. You just gotta do it.
You just gotta do it.
It's never a perfect time. My bad, I said good. It's never a perfect time to do anything. You just gotta do it.
You just gotta do it.
And here's another bit of advice I'm gonna toss out there. If you ever wondering if it's the right time, just do it, right? And once hell start breaking loose, that's how you know it was the time for you to do it. Cause it's gonna happen. As soon as you jump off the porch with what you're supposed to be doing, it's like the enemy is gonna make it seem like you made another mistake. So
Yeah.
you can go back to what you was doing prior to. I say no more what you say.
Hmm.
Man,
Hmm.
you got an idea, like you say, Porsche. You got an idea, jump out there and just do it like Nike say.
That
Real
part.
talk, real talk, real talk. Well, look, it was a beautiful time. This is actually my longest Family Talk Friday
Hey,
podcast. Yeah,
we out
normally we be
here.
doing about 25, 30 minutes, but we was vibing. This is. I definitely appreciate you for stopping by. I know the people is definitely excited to hear from you because a lot of people don't express what they've been through,
Yeah.
and it's just time for us to do so people will know, like, yo, it is a safe space. It is okay for you to heal. It is okay for you to talk. You know what I'm saying? And you won't be criticized. Like, our people have that very bad criticism, being judgmental. Ain't none of that shit here. And if it is, man, you can go on about your business. We trying to heal, not trying, we healing over here. That's what we doing, and we building. You know what I'm saying? So we healing and we building.
And we build it.
Real talk. Facebook, Bigo, to our new family, Twitch, YouTube. I appreciate you all for joining in, stopping by. Please like, comment, share, all that. Until next time, it's been real, people.
Spiritually un.
Powered by Riverside FM.